When people say they have these toxic relationships and all this other stuff, if you would have sat down and spoke with this person and not been blinded by the nice restaurant, nice cars, all this other stuff, and got to know what type of person this is, you might not be in a toxic relationship.
Welcome to Girl Talk with the Boys, and we are back again this session where we are talking about crazy that we heard on the internet. So, crazy shit that we heard on the
Mm.
internet related
Mm.
to relationships. But before we dive into crazy shit number one and crazy shit number two, come on, boys, and introduce yourselves, starting with what's higher than number one, baby.
Kai Car Baby, aka Kai Zoo, reporting for duty. Ow.
Lee folks, straight out of Durham, Bull City, baby.
Uh-oh.
Okay. All right. I didn't know y'all did that up there. Okay.
I've seen that before. I don't know
Yeah,
what
I'm
it
Doc.
means.
There's nothing special. I'm good.
Because it's Bull City.
This guy, man.
Don't know how to have fun. Grumpy Smurf, man.
So how's y'all's week been? Before we dive in, what's the week been like for you?
My week has been a week of peace and balance.
Good.
Well, I just celebrated a birthday, so my birthday was on Monday.
Happy birthday!
Appreciate it.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
So I had a good time.
Well, for me, the week's going real well. Always a constant grind, but that's good. Always moving in a positive direction. I got a couple more days left. I'm going to take a week off and go to Mexico, and then I'm going to come back and start grinding again.
You know, some of the topics that we've seen and had discussions about are surrounding relationships, which is what we talk about mostly here anyway. But the first one, Kai, you kind of dug up and thought it would be a good topic for us to discuss. I thought so too. So you want to talk about it?
I absolutely do. So there's this new thing going around where women don't want to be taken to certain restaurant destinations. And so I actually heard two schools of thought about it from two different women. And one woman is like, don't invite me to Cracker Barrel for breakfast. And then the other one was like, hey, if I asked you to go to Cracker Barrel, would that offend you? Would you say no? She was like, no, we'll go to Cracker Barrel. She's like, but just, don't let it fall down to McDonald's, because I don't eat McDonald's. I was like, I don't either, so you don't have to worry about that.
What about Waffle House?
She said she went to Waffle House.
All right.
On a date at Waffle House. So it's like, when I grew up, Sizzler was the shit. Red Lobster was the shit when I was growing up.
Man, Red Lobster, it was almost like you had money when you
Right. Sizzler, Red Lobster.
The funny thing about it is, don't laugh about that, because my every time I go home, I always tell my mom and say, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to take you someplace nice. Where you want to go?" For some reason, she always says Red Lobster, and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
You could not figure
because that's what we right.
I know, but it's back then. That was
so that would be a no for you today.
What?
If somebody said, if somebody was like, "Hey, Melissa, I'd like to take you out," and you're like, "Oh, what'd you have in mind?" I was thinking of Red Lobster. What would you say?
That'd be a negative, Ghost Rider. I mean, they're dirty.
Well, you know what? I honestly think that women should focus more on the time they're going to spend with the person across the table with them instead of where they're going to be eating, because that's the most important portion of the date. Because the date is for you to get to know the person. If I'm not taken to a 5-star room, I mean, granted, if I can afford to take you to a 5-star restaurant, that's fantastic. But if I can't, and I can only take you 2s and 3s, you should be focusing on the guy across the table.
Yeah, you got to pick another 2 or 3 because I'm not going to Red Lobster. Red Lobster is dirty. They just had
Okay,
video. Those jokers, the rats was running all through the joint. No, thank you.
Yeah. There's certain places I'm not even going. So
yeah, but I mean, you can pick a nice place that's clean and cleanliness. It doesn't have to be Red Lobster per se, but it could be like a 2 or 3-star restaurant. And
what about Cheesecake Factory, Melissa?
That's a big one on the internet. I like the Cheesecake Factory. I think it's a nice establishment. I think the food is great. But that was a big one that was on the internet where girls cut the date off because she didn't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, I think it was more so because they were supposed to go somewhere else prior to going to the Cheesecake Factory. And then when she showed up, she was like, whoa, this is not where you're supposed to be taking me or something like that.
Fake news.
To piggyback on some of the stuff you guys were talking about as far as dirty restaurants, I don't know if you know half of the ones in DC are pretty dirty and they're considered 5-star, right? So I don't know if you guys ever been to DC and see those rats running around, but they're all throughout those restaurants, regardless of if you see them or not. So
Well, they're not at restaurant Chez Melissa, and that's where I typically go.
I mean, but there's also videos of guys who make really nice dinners for a girl at their house, and they're not appreciative of that. I mean, if a guy sits there and he makes a meal for you, I mean, you got to understand, if someone feeds you, that's a big deal. I
Mhm.
mean, when you sit in there, you got to understand what the whole symbolic meaning of breaking bread with somebody. Believe it or not, you have wars decided over dinner, peace conferences decided over dinner. A lot can be done over dinner. And then you think about it. I'm going to talk to you. We're going to be sharing food. We're going to be drinking together. That is your opportunity to get to find out who this person is. I mean, if he's a jerk and he's taking you to 5-star restaurants, I mean, you're going to get lost in the restaurant. Then you're going to find out, you wake up next to the morning and you're next to this guy and you're like, man, I don't even like this person.
I mean, that's a valid point. Like, I don't know. I haven't been on the dating scene, so is that something that men are doing now? Is cooking for women?
I cook. I'm a very good cook, so most times it's probably better to stay at the crib with me and just eat. I'm not pulling out frozen fish sticks. You know what Kanye said? Fish stick, but I'm eating that lobster. You know what I mean? So you eat lobster tail, filet mignon, ribeye. Doc he came through one day. I was like, hey, he was like, hey, what's that smell? So I was like, it's some, Chilean sea bass.
I'm not going to say what I said.
It ain't no fried whiting, no fried flounder. It's we eat good.
If you really want to impress a young lady and you want to have a nice dinner, it's cheaper to have a private chef come in and cook the food for you right in your house, and they give you drinks. You chill, you relax, have your drinks. You walk over, you have a 3 or 5 course meal, and you're ready to roll. And you're paying the same amount of money as you would if you had you went to like a Ruth Chris or something.
I don't think it's as cheap as Ruth Chris, Brad. Come on now. I think you're probably take it up a little bit.
What do you mean? The private chef?
No, yeah, I know. Ruth Chris is like that's like McDonald's to us now, man. Come on.
Well, you know what I mean. Well, most people see. I'm not saying it to us. I'm saying it for everyone to understand. Ruth Chris is like a pinnacle place.
Ruth Chris is overrated anyway.
I wouldn't say that.
Mhm.
Yes, it is.
I disagree with that. I
disagree with that
disagree
comment
with
a lot.
that. I don't care where you go in America. It's going to be a
Just a
consistent.
good meal.
It's right.
It's overrated.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been to better steakhouses than Ruth Chris.
Oh,
but
I'm
we don't
not
have
saying-
Ruth
Oh, of course
Chris.
they're better. Yeah, no, I'm not going to argue
I'm
that.
not saying it's the best, but I'm definitely not saying it's the worst.
I said
You
it's
know.
overrated.
oh,
I wouldn't go that far.
That's why we all have our own opinions. But I think
Right, I was going to say, yeah, we got our own opinions. If she thinks it's overrated, it's overrated to her.
Lee, I'd like to know from your generation, does your generation cook for sisters?
I can't speak for everybody, so but I like to grill. So I mean, especially during the summertime and spring, I learned from Kai, and doing my own thing on the side. But I like to grill, so either I'm doing that or I might cook, for whomever I'm dating.
That's cool.
We all grill. I mean, I love going to Costco, or I like getting some aged beef, getting a big thick cut, and then you go in there and you fry it up you go there and grill it up on the grill. But the problem is, a lot of women don't like a big thick cut of steak like that.
What if you're balling on a budget? Like everybody can afford these meals. You talking about steak and filet mignon and lobster and big ribeye.
You can't afford that stuff because you
Yeah.
think about it. You get lobster tails; they're not that expensive. They're $10 a tail. You don't get the huge ones, but you get $10 a tail. You go down, you go to Food Line or Harris Teeter or whatever. You get a nice ribeye.
Yeah, I know what balling on a budget is because, when I was in college, I had my own place. And when I would cook, I whip up some, like, a box of mac and cheese. Then I'll take some turkey meat, brown it and season it up and throw it in there and mix it up with some spinach. And now we got like a gourmet.
I'm not knocking Food Lion. What I'm knocking is there's certain things that you do and you don't buy from certain stores. So I wouldn't buy meats from Walmart, just like I wouldn't buy a lobster from Food Lion or a lobster tail from Food Lion.
Some people don't know. So when you understand, they know lobster is something fancy. Sometimes you can buy it at Food Lion, you can buy it at Fresh Market, you can buy it at all these different places. You can buy it from Whole Foods. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know.
It depends on who you're dating, right? So if she already knows or she already had lobster tail, you can't fool her, right? So, like, what is this? This crawfish? This ain't lobsters. What is this?
You know what? Personally, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, everyone can sit here and say this, that, and the other thing, but you know, we know until you know, you don't know. Like sometimes you could buy a thick steak and think you're going to save some money by cutting it in half, or you're I mean, it's not recent. It's not that you don't know. It's just that you think that's what you're supposed to do. You know, not everyone's going to get like you know. The good thing is we can afford now to go to Costco and buy a whole big prime rib and have a butcher cut it up for us. You know, we can buy flank steak. We know different cuts of steak.
Yeah, but if we go back to our original statement, what Kai said was the young lady would not go to Cheesecake Factory or Cracker Barrel. So do you think that she's gonna eat a lobster from Food Lion?
If I told somebody I'm going to take you to Cracker Barrel and they're like, I don't like Cracker Barrel. All right, we'll go to this place. Oh no, I don't like this place. If I don't like this, I don't like this. First off, I would pack her stuff up and shoo her out the door, because someone like that is just that's not the person you want, because you need someone who's going to be with you when you're down and when you're going to be up.
Here's what I think. I think that as like right now, you know, me and Doc, we used to go to Ruth Chris all the time. First of all, we started out at Longhorn. You know what I mean? That's the other one, Outback, Longhorn. We were Outback and Longhorn brothers. Then we graduated to Ruth Chris. Then it was Morton's. Then it was Flanagan's or Fleming's. And now we can go to Rathburn. Now we can go to wherever. We can get $180 cuts of Wagyu beef if we wanted to. So think about women who have kind of got there. Their head is not on Cracker Barrel. So you got to know listen, let me finish now. You have to know the class of woman you're dating. If you're dating women who are VPs, don't go to them with Cracker Barrel. You're a dummy for doing that. That's like, hey, I'm going to go and race, but you coming up there in a Beetle and everybody else is driving Bugattis. Come on, son. You got to come in with a Bugatti. Now, if the woman is a different type of woman where that's what they expect, and they come into the table and you got to know that I'm not with that. But the way I roll, I'm not taking you to Cracker Barrel. I'm not taking you to Chick-fil-A. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking you to Ruby Tuesdays and Applebee's. That's college stage shit.
Yeah, yes and no. I think it depends on where she's humble too. So I mean, if she's a VP, for instance, right, and she doesn't really expect you to do the extraordinary, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to take somebody else. You don't have to take no girl out, so on the first date somewhere fancy. You can go in between and then you gradually take her there just to see how she reacts to certain things. That's my opinion. That's what I would do.
But you're not going to Cracker Barrel either. Let's be real about it.
I don't know, man. I about to say I've done Cracker Barrel.
No, I know you've done it, but now you're in a position where your first thought probably isn't going to be, you know what? I'm gonna wake up and take my baby to Cracker Barrel.
Well, I think it goes back to what he said. Which date is it? I think along the lines of, when we were talking in the chat, I think coffee is fine for a first date. It doesn't have to be something extravagant.
There are coffee shops that are better than Cracker Barrel. Now you can go to, if you're in Atlanta, you got Cafe Intermezzo. You got little French spots you can go to that are nice upscale coffee shops with nice pastries. So that's different than Cracker Barrel.
Right.
That's true.
But I'm still going to stand on the point that it doesn't matter where you go with the person, CEO, the fry girl at McDonald's. You want to know what kind of person you're dealing with, and and that's why I think a coffee shop date is fine. You just want to sit there and talk to the person. You just want to sit there and talk to the person and find out where their head's at, because And the funny thing about it is, if you can take a girl to Cracker Barrel and she appreciates you buying her and taking a Cracker Barrel, great. If she's not going to appreciate Cracker Barrel, and oh, this is not good enough for me, this is not this, you know what? That might not be a person who's only interested in materialistic things, because the thing with just like everything else, materialistic things, exterior features. I always tell people, you can be good looking now, you can be good looking 10 years from now, but guess what? Good looks fade, because as you get older, we don't get better looking. I mean, you can still stay good looking, but after a while, you want to be involved with somebody who has a lot more to offer you than just a pretty face. You want a great personality. You want her to be able to laugh. You want her to be able to help you out with problems. So my whole thing is, you're not going to find that out if you're eating the $300 meal and you can barely talk and you got to whisper. You might want to find out, does she cut up? She can say jokes and she can laugh, and she ain't going to be upset when you make jokes about it and about stuff. You want to be able to find that out. So that's what I think the meal is for. I mean, I think personally, I think we're focusing on the meal itself, and you're not focusing on the person across the table from you.
I mean, that's really a valid statement. Like, people are focused on the what,
That's true.
and where you're going versus how is this person going to add value to my life? Do I really like this person? Are they worth the second date versus where you're going? That's very valid. And there is a lot of emphasis on that.
I agree.
I hate to say it, we're more interested in someone who's wearing Louis Vuitton, doing this, doing that, Dior, this thing, that thing, that thing. And on the inside, they're a horrible person. They're a horrible person. And then, believe it or not, the person who's wearing, like, I don't know, Tommy Hilfiger, wearing something normal.
Tommy Hilfiger ain't normal. You gonna have to go on down to Walmart, like
faded glory, man.
But the thing is, though, at the end of the day, you want to be with somebody who's real.
Hey, we all have been there and have elevated. And as you elevate, the circles you date in should be elevated as well. So as you move up, let me finish, Doc. So as you move up, so in the past, I didn't wear Gucci and Prada and all that, Burberry, but I wear that shit, the Yeezys, because I like nice stuff. I can afford it. I'm not robbing Peter to pay Paul. So with that comes the different, I'm not running in circles with women that, can't do the same.
I might have to leave your circle because I shop at Shein.
But that's a personal choice.
Yes.
That's a personal choice. It's not that you can't afford it. It's a personal choice.
Yes.
And you know what, though? But that should be just fine. For some guys, I could be like this. You know what? I could be like, that's the kind of girl I like. She's not caught up in all the superficiality. She's just basic and real. Boom. If she likes to wear whatever, this, that, and that, if she looks good in it, God bless her.
And I think, people look phenomenal in those clothes, but like you said, it's just a personal choice.
It's a personal choice. And at the end of the day, it's all vanity anyway.
Yeah.
And I realized that. You know what I'm saying? I used to be, I ain't gonna be wearing that expensive stuff. Yeah, that was back when I couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? Now I can afford it. So,
but you work for it, right?
And thank you. I'll put in the work, but I don't want to sound like that, I'm this high-minded guy. Of course, I've dated women that don't make as much as me, but they brought more things to the table than just the financial side. So I think the important piece is, yes, there are certain things you get to know the person and you're like, this person is materialistic and not really just, like to enjoy the spice of life based on where you are. There's a difference. You should be able to tell that and pick that up, that a materialistic person is different from somebody who's like, okay, they're not materialistic, but they just like to enjoy life and not afraid to spend now to enjoy it.
But I think everyone chooses what they want to spend their money on. Like I may have a different vice than buying name brand things, but I might like to do something else. It might be a different way that I spend my money. But you can like go on Facebook now and get some of that stuff. But it to me is still like it's a lot of money for a purse. Where Louis Vuitton is really not even leather; it's vinyl. The last topic that we have is the video that I sent in the chat where the young lady was saying that she's not going back to like you break up with someone and then they want to come back. Well, women are thinking that because you're coming back, it means that they think you're a dummy and they could continue to play you.
You know what? I'll be quite honest with you. Some of the people who get on the internet, and I don't know why you do this, but it's just a bad look. I mean, some people they break up with other people and they say, "Hey, you know what? I realized what I had and I want to go back to it." And I mean, that's just facts of life. No one thinks you're a dummy. I mean, that's just not realistic. I
Yeah, I thought
mean,
that was stupid.
you're gonna have arguments. Me and Kai have had arguments. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna talk to Kai no more.
No, it's not where it's platonic. It's a man and a woman.
It's still a relationship. And at the end of the day, if you have a relationship with somebody and things don't go back, I mean, you can get mad at somebody. You can walk away and take a break and then say, you know what? I don't want there to be so much separation between us. I want to be with this person. I mean, I get it. But the funny thing is just that you have to understand dating is like you have to develop. There's peaks and valleys in every relationship. And unfortunately, you're going to go through a valley and you're going to realize, hey, you know what? I made a mistake and I missed this person. I want this person back in my life. And that's what you're doing. All this other stuff, oh, they think I'm a dummy. They do that. I think they're doing that just for.
I think it could be if the relationship was toxic.
Right, exactly. She didn't give any context on how the relationship was. She's just coming out like she's the authority on breakups and to make up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's you have the worst case scenario, and then you have the best case scenario. Doc's talking best case, where two people can be mature adults who are self-aware and understand that sometimes shit doesn't work. And then you got over here, if you go back to somebody, you're dumb. And then in between those extremes, you got every iteration, and they all can exist at the same time.
And you know what the funny thing is? If we go back to the last conversation and apply the last conversation in this conversation, when people say they have these toxic relationships and all this other stuff, if you just sat down and spoke with this person and not been blinded by the nice restaurant, nice cars, all this other stuff, and got to know what type of person this is, you might not be in a toxic relationship. You might find if you sat down and talked to this guy, you might find out, hey, this guy he's got an unnecessarily angry temper. Because I could be in the coffee shop and the person makes my order badly and I'm yelling at the girl, I'm slamming stuff down. Your thought process has got to be, hey, this might not be the guy. But if you take it to a nice restaurant, you don't get to interact with me in a meaningful way. That a lot of stuff gets overlooked because you're looking at the presentation of the food. You're looking at the presentation. That's why a lot of business lunches don't have business lunches anymore, because people lose concentration and focus while they're eating. And there's always an interruption so that you cannot keep on the business. So what they do is they have lunch, but they order it in so you can be at a table and you can be doing work and you can focus on the work and eat in between.
It depends on the woman, Yeah. Here's the deal. If that's a woman's 411 or her MO, that's just going to be her 411 and her MO until she decides to get out the game. You got pimps and you got playettes, and that's just the reality of life. And then you just got to know who you're messing with. You trust me, you'll know. Like I said earlier, if you are a self-aware, observant, value-based, principle-based, behavior-based individual, you'll be able to tell the difference between a woman who's that type of playette versus someone, all right, they just like to enjoy the spice of life. Because we have balance in our relationship. Sometimes they want to go to Marcel's or, Rathburn Steakhouse, or they good with just chilling at the crib, cooking steak or stir frying some, steak tips and some fried rice at the crib. If it's like that, then we cool. But if it's always we gotta always dip, then I'm not with that.
No, I was gonna say I agree with that. You can definitely tell unscrupulous, behavior or whatnot because it's going to show probably within the next 5 minutes or so of your interaction with that person. You can kind of get a gauge of how they are, right? So then it also boils down to how people communicate because once again, people don't know how to communicate. There's a gap into how people interact with certain people because of could it be their environment and how they saw other people act. And so they act the same way. So people just don't know how to communicate in general. They don't know how to express their feelings because you know what? There was a clip I saw the other day where Shaq said he doesn't express how he feels or he doesn't vent to a woman because they're going to use it against them. That goes back to how we communicate and how, certain relationships are with certain people. But it's just crazy how you meet certain people who just don't know how to either vent or just communicate in general and to express how they feel about somebody.
That is powerful. And we talked about that in our last episode. But I was also gonna say there's layers to what Doc said. Like, you have that one meeting, but we all know when you first go out with someone for the first 3 to 6 months, you're talking to the impersonator. So they're gonna hide everything for the most part until stuff starts to creep out. You're not gonna see it on the first date in most instances.
So superficial.
Everyone's on good behavior.
Yeah, and then I'll add to yours, Lee. I think there's an element of selfishness. It's about me, 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 me. What I feel, what I want to do, versus how do we walk together? What do I do to complement? What value do I bring to that person, and what value do they bring back to me? It can't just be one sided.
The thing you have to understand when you're with somebody, and it's tough for me to do, and it's tough for a lot of people to do, is that you have to understand, and you got to walk in that person's shoes. You got to understand their position, but on the flip side too, they have to understand your position, and you could say, "Hey, I understand what you're in, but you got to see the position I'm in." And if they never see the position you're in, you're going to always feel slighted.
Yeah. It's
Game over. That's game over for me.
Yeah, and some people label that narcissistic. Oh, you're narcissistic. You're narcissistic. No, you got to think. You got to understand. I'm going through some real life shit, and I understand the position you're in, but I'm in the weeds too. You're in the weeds. I'm in the weeds. I got an idea. Let's get together, be a team, and we probably might be able to knock these weeds down together. But if you're stuck in your head about your problems, and you're not even remotely going to listen, you're not even remotely interested in what my problems are, what I got going on, then it makes it real tough.
That's the mismatch.
Two are better than one. How can two work together unless they agree?
People are forgetting that. It's not like, everyone's thinking, yeah, it's us against the world, but there's going to be some points where I carry you. And the funny thing about it is that you don't realize that, because I remember the funny thing about it is I was watching one of my college football tapes. I saw one. I popped that thing in the DVD player, and I'm like, man, let me see this relive my glory years. And I'm watching it, and there was a play where the tackle goes down, and I come in behind him. And the thing I recognize is that the tackle in front of me, he would literally grab the opposing player and pull him so I could run by. And the thing and the funny thing is, I never realized that he was giving himself up so I could make the big play. So the thing about it is that here is this guy, he's pretty much pulling everyone on top of himself, so you don't even see who he is. And then I run up and I make the tackle, I make the sack, and I'm like standing there, my arms up in the air. But the reality is, I never would have been in that position if I didn't have the help.
That's why it's called a team.
That's what a relationship is. If you're not willing to sit there and say, "Hey, when I'm down, you got to pick me up. You got to carry me." And if you're not willing to do that, I get it. So all these things you're talking about with the toxic relationships, buying where I eat and thing, because you got to understand, if I take you to Cracker Barrel and you're having a big fit about me taking you to Cracker Barrel, I'm not going to want to take you to a fancy restaurant, because I know when the things are down, this is how you're going to act. Everyone is great when you're up. Everyone's happy when you're up. I mean, it's great to be around me when we're up. But I'm telling you what, back when Cracker Barrel was that was the joint to go to, you had your nose turned up. So, I mean, for the most part, that's why I do the coffee dates. That's why I would do a coffee date, simply for the fact that, if I don't like you, I don't like your energy, I don't like what you're bringing to the table, it only costs me what, $5 for a high price thing of coffee.
Okay.
It's true.
It is true. All right. So, as you guys know, I have a book that is available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. Volume 1, The Ragdoll Diaries, Pink Panties on the Floor. Want to read a excerpt from the book just to correlate what we were talking about today and get your final thoughts from there. So, just to give the readers a synopsis of Shay is the main character. She's dating Andre, but she knows that she is one of his women. But she feels like, she wants him to get it all out of his system, and she's going to be the main chick, and then the other chick is going to be nothing. So, but her bubble was busted. So she says, reality is, I'm not sure what men are thinking when they pull on the heartstrings of women. In some instances, we allow it because a man will only do what you allow them to do. But in some instances, I believe greed gets the best of them. One dude told me he was just selfish. Selfish? Nah, you're greedy, bitch. Walking around here sticking anything with a pulse that says hello. Men need to stop for a moment and realize that their daughters or granddaughters may go through the same experiences. They may perhaps find men just like them, and it is then I hope they stop for a moment and remember all of the women whom they victimized through the years. Women are not dogs or puppies, whichever one you want to use. Women are not pawns. Women are feeling people with real emotions. And men must realize that they cannot just pick us up and throw us away like old rags whenever they feel like it. I know that I am worthy of someone who's going to love me and only me, but I cannot see it right now standing on the inside. So I will continue to play this game until I crap out.
I think it's who she's dealing with and where she's getting these people from, number one. So if you're constantly going to the same well to get these people, then you need to change your well. You need to change your environment. Number two, I mean, you need to look at yourself and analyze yourself and try to figure out, why am I dealing with these people? Expect more for yourself. Try to blame somebody else.
She had low self-esteem, by the way.
Definitely. I agree. That's what it sounds like. And that might come from, maybe like I said earlier, the environment or parental trauma, some kind of trauma that caused that. So, even kids, right? Kids are very brutal growing up.
About that in the book. So
The reason why kids are so brutal is no one's taught them how to lie.
Well, I don't know.
When you ask a 3 or 4 year old, hey, am I fat? And they say, yeah, you're fat. It's not that they're being mean. It's just that no one's taught them to embellish. No one's taught them to lie. So you're getting the truth. And sometimes, believe it or not, we actually need to tell the truth. I mean, the funny thing is, you're talking about that woman having low self-esteem. That guy might have low self-esteem. Because the thing is, though, he's trying to find himself in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 women. And the thing is, you got to understand, if he's sleeping with 5 or 3, 4 women at a time, and he still feels empty, it's not the women who are the problem. He might be the problem.
okay, all right.
Let me counteract that. What if you already told her that? I don't know. I never read the book, but what if you already told her what he wants?
You know what? That's the same thing. I don't care if he tells them. The problem you got to understand is, the whole goal is, if you're going to try to find a mate, you're going to try to find your soulmate. You're going to try to find your partner.
But what if they don't want that?
You know what? If they don't want that, that's fine. Then he's going to keep looking. But the funny thing is, if you're looking for one person and you want to be with that one person, you're not going to sleep with 5 or 6 different women.
Right. If you're looking for
If
one
that's
person.
if you're looking for
Right.
your person, you're not going to sleep with 5 or 6 different women.
Well, that's the big if. If I'm looking for one person, sometimes you're looking for multiple people to make a whole person.
And you know what? That might be the case. But at the end
Mm.
of the day, if you're that narcissistic that you're looking for this person, you're this, you're this, you're this, you got to find out all people aren't perfect.
And you pick whatever flawed person that you want to be with, because like you said, everybody's not perfect. So you pick their imperfections and you say, well, is this something I can deal with for the rest of my life? And if it is, then you stick with them. If not, you go on about your business.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a hardcore guy. I'm this way or that way. If you can't take my personality, I'm cool with taking you can't take my personality. That's cool. You don't have to hang out with me.
That's what the girl was saying. What Lee said is that person was already playing with you. And then you went back to that joker knowing that he was playing with you, but he's not going to stop playing with you. He thinks you're dumb enough to come back when he was playing with you. But it doesn't apply to every relationship. It applies to the ones where they were playing around with you.
Well, you got to understand too. That guy could be really good at playing her heart. And he could be, he could say the right things and do the right things where he could say, hey, this is, I think you're special. I think you're this, but you keep sleeping with other people. I think I got to step away. All right. You step away, but you start missing that person and you think he's going to change. It doesn't mean you're a dummy.
You miss that person, or you miss what they do to you.
Sometimes you got to be committed to the breakup, period. We know there's certain, we know how the breakup went down. It wasn't like, if it wasn't a mutual, hey, let's just take a break and we'll come back and see how this goes. If it was one of those breakups where it's like, yeah, we need to stay broken up, and you get those urges to go back, you have to be committed to the breakup just like you tried to be committed to that relationship.
Yep, that's the tough damn part.
And that's where the pain comes in.
There's a grieving process that takes place when you break up with somebody. Look, I always said this. Once the heart gets involved, game over. When you break up with that person and the heart is tangled up, there's a grieving process that takes place.
And depending on how bad the breakup is, sometimes it never heals. And that's the thing you got to understand. That's the thing you got to take. And it's horrible.
This is a good show. I really enjoyed it. Any last thoughts? Let's start with Lee. He was quiet.
I don't have any last thoughts, man. I can't think of anything right now. But I definitely enjoyed the conversation. Everybody's different perspective. And I accept everybody's opinion.
Yeah, I like it. That's what we talked about. Diversity of thought. We don't all have to agree, but I think we all have different perspectives and it works.
That's the beauty of being human. That's my parting last words. Enjoy the beauty of being human.
Yeah.
Stop. We're not AI. We're not machines. Learn to give yourself grace. We make mistakes. No one's perfect. And sometimes sometimes we got a lot of rods in the fire. We're juggling a lot of balls. And sometimes you're going to drop a ball and one rod might get too hot and you need to drop that shit. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's part of being human. So accept your humanity. That's what I'm saying.
Yep. Dope.
Reverend Roosevelt.
Didn't he go to sleep?
It looks like he froze. He froze on us.
He looked like he went to sleep. Went to sleep during church.
No, the image is frozen.
Nobody there to nudge him.
Where the church mother at when you need her? Where the church mother at? Wake up, boy.
You have been listening to Girl Talk with the Boys. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please follow us on YouTube, like and share. And as always, we see you because we are you. We'll see you next time on Girl Talk with the Boys.